Starting. All right, and we're live. Good morning here from Seattle. Good afternoon to you on the East Coast, and good evening to those of you joining us from overseas. Thank you so much for being here with us. I am luckily joined this morning by the amazing Daniel Laskewitz. It's 6:30 p.m. his time. He decided to actually come and hang out with us during his evening. Daniel, thanks so much for being here, buddy.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. How you been? How's life? We haven't talked recently. We haven't seen each other since the MVP Summit. What's new in your world?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm doing a lot of Flow and PowerApps stuff lately. I'm doing a lot of stuff for customers. All around Holland. We get more and more requests about Flow and PowerApps. So you see it's really gaining more popularity, and that's a good thing. So
I love to hear that.
The last couple of years, I've worked a lot with Flow and stuff, and I really can see it's going good ways.
Awesome. I love to hear that, especially about Flow, man, so you're going to talk to us today about administrating your environments.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the PowerShell part a lot.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you how you can leverage those PowerShell commandlets to get your environments, administer your environments, and do a lot of other stuff with it.
Awesome. You're pretty excited about this PowerShell stuff, right? You've been asking for this for a while.
Yeah, I've been harassing everybody at the Flow team for a while now. And since last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess, they released a preview for PowerShell support.
Nice. Yeah, I remember you asking for a long time. But see, if you harass the team enough, it pays off.
Yeah, exactly. So I encourage everybody to do that.
Awesome. Did you, Kent actually did a session on this yesterday while we were at Build. Did you have a chance to catch that?
Yeah, because of you. You shared through Periscope. I think.
My first live stream from an event. It was pretty fun.
Really cool.
Cool.
You should do that more often. So
you know what, man? I'm going to. I think I'm going to. I have a lot of things happening this year, and so I'm going to do a lot more live streaming for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but I'm not going to take up any more of your time. We have 27 minutes left, and so I'm going to give you the floor, and it's all yours, buddy. Show us what you got.
Yeah, let me share my screen. One moment. Here we go. Can you tell me if you can see it?
I am seeing it clearly.
Okay, great. Well, a couple of weeks back, it says here on the 23rd of April, the PowerApps team released this article and made it possible to download the PowerShell modules for PowerApps and Flow. But the article only mentioned PowerApps, so don't be mistaken. It's also for Flow. So if we move on here, I already told you it's all about PowerApps and Flow. It has two modules. It has the normal PowerApps.PowerShell module and the PowerApps.administration.PowerShell module. And there's a difference between those two. The PowerApps.PowerShell module is more for the makers of PowerApps and flows, and the PowerApps administration is more for the IT admins that want to see if there are some flows without owners, or if a connector is not working anymore, or something like that. So what's in there? For the makers, you have a couple of commandlets. These are only the Flow commandlets I show here. There are no connector commandlets in here, but they are in the module. So there's a lot more, but I didn't want to mention everything because it takes a lot of time. So to read environments, you can use the get flow environment commandlet. You can read, update, and delete flows through a couple of commandlets. You can read, update, delete flow permissions. So if you want to get all flows that don't have an owner and you want to set the owner role to an admin, for instance, you can do that by using these commandlets. Read and respond to flow approvals. Those are really interesting. They are currently in the CDS, and a while back they were made public, so you can you can get to those approval requests. And you can now do that also by PowerShell. The commandlets for admins, that's the other module. You can read and delete environments. You can read, update, and delete environment permissions. And you can read, update, and delete flows. And this is all from the admin context. So you'll see a lot more than with the other modules. So let's start by getting my demos. I have to, I have to switch to PowerShell. Yeah, in the beginning you can use in your script the import module statements, and those are the modules I talked about before. I'm going to use both of them in this this script. So that's how you do that. Let me switch to my right folder. So here we are. So if you import those modules, you can run the selection, and those modules are imported. You get a warning immediately because there are some commands that include some unapproved verbs, and the PowerShell team, the PowerApps team is already working on that to change that for us. Now we imported modules. I want to add my PowerApps account to this. So let's run this commandlet, and I get a sign in box, and I have to sign in. And now I'm signed in. So now we can use all the other commands. For instance, to get the environments. So let's do that. It takes a while. There they are. And you can see I have 3 environments. I have Daniel Laskewitz environment. I have a test environment, test 1, 2, 3. And I have my default environment. You can also see that there is some extra metadata. For instance, is default. Yeah, for the display name default, that's kind of obvious that it is a default one. You can see the last modified user, and on one you can't, because this is a developer environment and it has some different stuff. So some things aren't available on there. But let's do another one, because I don't like the view of this. I much rather have a couple of those metadata fields available, and I want to have a table. So that's why I use the select object commandlet and the format table one. So if you run this one, you get the display name is default, location, and environment name in here, and it shows a bit more info. If you do that as an admin, that's the other module, and you use get admin environment. Let me take a look for that. You get the same stuff, but there's one extra metadata field, and that's environment type. But if I would, for instance, leave this out, and rerun it, you'll see there's a lot more in there. So if you look here, you see like there's 3, 6, 9 metadata fields, and if I go down, there's 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 metadata fields. So you have a lot more metadata in here. So that's really cool. You of course have to be a global admin an admin for this commandlet because you won't be able to run these if you don't have permissions for it. So let's get going to the next one. Get all flows from a specific environment. I use the default one, so I already copied the environment name in here as a parameter. So let's get all the flows from that environment. And there are a couple of flows in here. And well, you can see there are some are enabled, some aren't, and you see a lot of other metadata like created time, last modified time, and the flow name, of course, display name. So now what I want to do is I want to get all the creators of the flow. You can see here there's a created by field, and you see an object here, and you see the tenant ID, object ID, user ID, and the user type. And I of course want to see just the display name of the user that created the flow, or for instance the email address. So let's go into here. What I've created here is for each loop, I created a parameter where I put in my get admin flow commandlet, and I only select a couple of properties, and then I go into the for each loop for the flows. I got the creator, and this is another one I need to use because I want to get the user that created the flow. So get users or groups from graph. I need that to get the object ID in here and get the name, for instance, the display name of the creator, the email of the creator, and there's some other fields I can use from this creator parameter. So let's run this. And it's already done. Here's the first, which has a display name, of course, a flow name, and creator. It says here, oh, one moment. It says here there's no creator found, and that's kind of crazy because a flow needs to be created by somebody. But this was a flow I created especially for an event. With an account I used just for that event. After that, I deleted the account, and that's why the creator is not found anymore. In the other flows, you can see I already have demo user, for instance, and my own account is in here. So those are just fine. Yeah, what you can do here, if you want some more info, for instance, I want a space between the name and the email address, but maybe I want something else in here, like creator. You can see there's a lot more in here. For instance, assigned plans, assigned licenses. So you can do a lot more with that. And that's really interesting if you want to create a report every now and then. And that's really good to try out. So let's move on. take a look here. The Flow admins. You can, of course, also set some permissions for some flows. So I already showed you the tweet sentiment flow where no creator was found. If I switch to my browser, I don't see my I don't see the flow in there, but I would love to see the flow in there before I delete it because I want to know what's in there. So that's why I want to run this, and I need the flow name, of course, in there. That's why I put it in here. The user, I want to get my own user, and I want to use that object ID to make sure I get to be an owner in that flow. So let's run this. And now switch back to my browser. And now I can see the flow in here. And if I click on it, I am the owner of that flow. I see demo 04, and that connection probably expired because the user doesn't exist anymore. So that's why the flow doesn't work anymore. So that was a really quick tour of the PowerShell commandlets. And a quick demo. Let me switch back to the PowerPoint. And well, there are a lot of good resources here. I'll take you to the Flow PowerShell. Oh, 1 moment. Is it working? Oh, I have it open here. I showed you this earlier. There are a couple of quirks for the installation. You have to download the scripts file. You have to set the execution policy. That's something you have to do before you can use these. The import module, I already used those in my script. And of course, the PowerApps account, I showed you that also. This known issue that wasn't there at first, but a lot of people experienced it. So make sure you run this command if you want to unblock the files. And if we go down that page a little bit, you see the app makers part and all the commandlets that are available there. So you can see there's get flow environment, get PowerApps environment, and there's a lot more for all the different Power Apps. For the PowerApps role assignment, you have a lot of commandlets, and there are some more for the connections. So the get connection and the remove connection, for instance. That's pretty interesting. Connection role assignments, and of course there are some more parts for the PowerApps command in the admin part too. And yeah, as I mentioned before, you have to be a global administrator or Active Directory global administrator to be able to run these commandlets.
Hey, real quick, I got a question from John Liu here.
Yeah.
He asks, if we're assigning flow to ourselves as an owner, does that 250 limit happen?
250 limit?
Yeah, so I think this might be a question more for me. I'll have to get back to him on that one, but I'm not sure actually if we can get around it. So I think there's a limit of each user can have 250 flows in their account. And I wonder if we use PowerShell here, if we can get around that.
Maybe, because I saw something in there. Let me take a look. I think there's something in there for using users or other types of principal types for the owner role. If you look here at the last part, you have the principal type in here, and I can also put a group in there. I don't know if that counts, but you can, for instance, use a group to immediately add them as an owner. But I'm not sure if that will lead to the same limit that John asked about.
Yeah, that's something we'll have to test out for sure.
Yeah, I'll come back on that for John. Good question. Another resource that I wanted to show is the Flow docs for admins. No, but the link isn't. Here it is. Administer environments in PowerApps. These are all the normal ways you can do this, but I think I added the wrong one. Let me go by hand. Oh, come on. Because there's an awesome documentation page for admins in here. Probably there's going to be some more in here for the PowerApps for the PowerShell part, but here you can find a lot of stuff that you what you want to know about being an admin in the Flow world. Make sure to take a look in here if you want to know more, for instance, about data loss. That's really interesting. I didn't see anything in there in the PowerShell commandlets for data loss. I would love to see some more for that, but maybe they will develop that later on. Yeah, make sure to take a look here if you want to know more about the administration of flows. And there's also a really interesting link here. You already talked about it, John. There was a session on build by Kent Weir, and he showed what you can do with PowerShell and Power BI to create some cool dashboards based on CSVs that he created with the PowerShell preview that I just showed you. He shared a link during that session, and you can use that to get the code he used for that. And you can also open his Power BI dashboard because it's also in there. So make sure to take a look at that. And yeah, it's really cool. And try it out, everyone.
Awesome. Yeah.
What do you think, John?
I think it's cool. I think I'm going to have to learn some PowerShell. And I'm going to cheat, though. I'm going to download all Kent's stuff, and I'm going to watch your video back here and copy all this stuff. And so then it'll be great. I'll learn like 5 things and make another video about it. It'll be cool.
Yeah, I'll share some of the stuff I showed. I'll share it on my blog too, so awesome. Everybody can use that. Yeah, and just try all the commandlets out because they're really eager for feedback. Yeah, if you miss something, just comment on the PowerShell page I just showed you.
And put that link up one more time. Let's show that link one more time, just so people can have it, so they know where to go comment.
So here it is. It's a really long link.
That is a very long link.
So yeah, I'll probably can I comment on that on YouTube probably?
Yeah.
I'll put it in YouTube, or we can put it in the comments in the video or something.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I don't see any other questions hanging out there yet, so I think it's safe if you want. We can wrap up a few minutes early, but let me first just say thank you so much for joining us, bud. I appreciate you coming and spending an evening of your time with us. I know that that this is your evening time, and so that means a lot to me. I appreciate that so much, and thanks for showing us cool stuff like this. Like I learned a lot for sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Definitely.
Cool. Well, thank you for having me, and looking forward to some other webinars.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll get some other MVPs in here with you, and maybe we'll do a group hangout, like a little panel or something.
Cool. That sounds good.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Daniel, have an excellent evening. And to the rest of you, thanks and keep flowing on. Later.
Later.